I'm convinced that the cost of growing your own food can get closer and closer to zero over time. After initial investments in the first few years on things like raised beds, compost bins, and garden tools, costs can trend towards zero, even as soil fertility and yields continue to improve. This is a theme I focused on a lot in 2013. Over the course of the year, I tracked all of our gardening investments and expenses, excluding water and electricity. And our total came to only $273.01. Of course, the trend towards zero isn't always a straight line. Last year and this year, for example, we decided to make additional investments in the garden, temporarily increasing our expenditures.
Last year I built 5 new raised beds, and this year I plan to build 2 more and a walk-in hoop house. However, after completing these projects, I plan to set a goal of spending less on the garden than ever before. Excluding water and electricity, I hope to have a garden budget of zero in 2016. Today I'll talk about how we plan to get our spending as close to zero as possible.
First of all, we grow only in the soil, which is usually the best way to go if you want to grow a lot of food on a small budget. Though it's possible to spend a lot of money on fertilizer and soil amendments, we found it to be unnecessary.
Mulch, compost, and vermicompost from free local resources can provide more than enough organic matter and nutrients and give outstanding results. So if you aspire to a no-cost garden, growing in the soil is the way to go.
When it comes to gardening tools, we keep things very simple. We don't till the soil, so we don't need a rototiller. Instead, we rely on a variety of manual tools, including a shovel, a hoe, a garden fork, loppers, pruning shears, and a rake.
Because our garden is relatively small, these tools are all we need to get the job done, and they're sturdy enough to last for several years. We don't plan on buying any more tools in the foreseeable future.
Growing edible perennials is a great way to reduce gardening costs. With the addition of some new perennials we're adding this year, we'll have over 30 different varieties of edible perennials in the garden.
A one-time investment in seeds or plant starts gives years of harvest with little to no additional cost. In our case, we feed the perennials with free mulch and compost, so our only ongoing expense is to occasionally water them. Even the watering cost is minimal, because we mulch our perennials and they have deeper roots than annuals and can better access water in the soil. So if you want to spend less on your garden, nothing beats edible perennials.
We dedicate a couple of our garden beds to perennials and self-sowing annuals. We let the annuals go to seed, drop their seeds in place, and come back again and again.
As with perennials, a one-time investment in seeds leads to years of harvest. Using this approach, this bed has been producing food pretty much on autopilot for several years, without any expense other than water. We also intend to step up our game when it comes to seed saving. I recently purchased the book Seed to Seed by Suzanne Ashworth and hope to get closer to a zero-budget garden by saving more seeds and buying less.
We don't have to water the garden often thanks to the fact that we get a good amount of rainfall. Even so, we do our best to conserve water.
We have a rain barrel to collect rainwater, and we mulch our garden beds to help retain moisture in the soil. These two measures significantly reduce our water usage and bring us closer to a no-cost garden.
We're also very fortunate not to have much of a problem with pests. Polycultures probably help. Instead of planting all of a pest's favorite crops in a single monoculture bed, we spread them around the garden and interplant them with other crops in polycultures. We also plant a wide variety of crops and flowers to attract beneficial insects. Aphids never last long in our garden because ladybugs are always quick to arrive and make a meal of them.
We use manual control for squash bugs and homemade slug traps for slugs, and spend very little money on organic pest controls.
To save electricity, we start seeds outside as often as we can, instead of in the grow room.
To get a jump on the season, we start cold hardy crops early in cold frames, hoop houses, and small plastic containers. Winter sowing enthusiasts have told me that they also winter sow warm weather crops like tomatoes and peppers outside. I'm going to try starting tomatoes in plastic bottles to see how well it works. The more seeds we start outside, the less we'll spend on electricity in the grow room.
We like to make use of free local resources in our garden as much as we can, whether it's building a compost bin from pallets, collecting wood chips for mulch, or making compost from leaves, grass clippings, and used coffee grounds.
We're convinced that the compost and vermicompost we make from free local resources are better than commercially available products and provide our soil with more than enough organic matter and nutrients.
So once we're finished building our walk-in hoop house and the last of our raised beds, we fully expect that our gardening budget will be lower than ever, and we'll be back on track to a no-cost garden. Well, that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching. And until next time, remember, you can change the world 1 yard at a time.